All right, let's do a little bit of overrated, underrated for WWE. I answer your questions you guys posted in the community tab, so let's go through it and let's figure out what you guys don't like a little bit here. Muhammad says Ricochet, overrated. Oh no. Says he can go in the ring. The guy can't cut a promo and his life dependent on it. Chad Gable, underrated. He can go do both very well. I kind of don't disagree here, to be honest with you. I like Ricochet, all of his work. He feels like an AEW wrestler, a guy who doesn't have to go on the mic. You can just go out and have banger matches and 5-star matches. But Ricochet, unfortunately, either they've never given him the opportunity or he's just never been able to perform on the microphone. And it's kind of noticeable, isn't it? Chad Gable, yeah, he's totally rated. He's rated. No one says Brock Lesnar is one of the most underrated wrestlers ever. An all-timer in the ring, storyteller, good promo, most believable wrestlers, similar to Andre. He draws. WWE ever seen. He's a big powerhouse. He doesn't get recognized enough for his wrestling abilities. I think it's because Brock is positioned the way he is in WWE. Because early Brock Lesnar, when he first came in, dude was doing triple power bombs. He had the clothesline. He had more in his arsenal. Like, he could do a lot more. He was doing a lot more. Shooting star press that just but now he just comes in, does suplexes. And you know what? Good on Brock, because he's only needing to do F5s and suplexes and it's over. Like, you gotta hand it to the guy. He doesn't have to go in there and do a bunch of fancy things, flips. The guy doesn't even do Irish whips. Like, have you ever watched Brock, like a recent Brock match? The dude does not like Irish whip an opponent into the ring and do a power slam or anything like that, or spine buster. Does none of that. He's just an MMA guy in there doing these moves. So it is believable. I'll give it to you. He's very underrated in that regard. Yes. And I think people will look back. I know Brock's got the controversy stuff right now, but I think people will look back quite fondly on Brock Lesnar, especially his last run with WWE. Tim says Shinsuke Nakamura is heavily underrated. Every time it looks like he's about to get a push, he becomes a jobber and is still bitter about the matchup with AJ Styles. Shinsuke is underrated. Shinsuke in NXT, I mean, Shinsuke in New Japan was fantastic, but Shinsuke in NXT, that's the Shinsuke you wanted. And then it felt like with Triple H, we were getting that. We were gonna get that version of Shinsuke Nakamura, and I love the vignettes. I love the translation stuff. Dark and ominous and eerie, but he didn't win. He was mid-tier. Right now, he's like mid-level boss. If you're playing a video game, he's the first boss fight, and you beat him fairly easily. It's the first chapter in the story. He's never the final boss in this whole thing. Shin, unfortunately, I think it just kind of, they've played it, and he's done, and bring him in and do some special stuff. But if you're going to use Shinsuke, like, is he drafted on SmackDown right now? You've never seen him. You got to use him, and you got to give him wins. That's the problem with some of the heels in WWE, in my opinion, is they don't get enough wins over anything. Karrion Kross, for example, just not enough credible wins where you're like, this guy is a badass and he's beating bigger guys than him. It's guys that are lower on the totem pole that are sometimes fighting with Shinsuke, and then Shin loses. Like, I know he was doing other feuds, but yeah, underrated. Commentary point here. Okay, Jay says overrated Pat McAfee as a commentator. He says he feels like he's trying too hard to be funny, and I just find him mostly annoying. Underrated. Okay, let's talk about, but then he says underrated is Wade Barrett as a commentator. Would you rather have the other guy? What was his name? I forget now. The last guy they had on Raw. That was bad. He was just whisper shouting. It was terrible. Pat I find is like small doses. So I can handle Corey Graves and Michael Cole every day. Wade Barrett as well. But then I get into Pat McAfee, and I like Pat. I do like that he's got some good zingers, one-liners, and when you listen to the chemistry, the thing is he's got chemistry with Michael Cole. And when you listen to Cole and Pat joking around or saying some funny stuff, it does work. But I get your point. It's a little overrated. It's a little too much sometimes with Pat McAfee for how he delivers stuff where it's all over the top. And I get it, you know what? He's having fun though too. So him dancing on the desk to Jey Uso's theme, things like that. Yeah, that might be overrated. Also, it threatens to take away from the product when the focus is on what he's doing a commentary. But you know what? For a live crowd, it's fun. And he does have some good reactions sometimes. So I don't know. I can see why you're saying he's overrated though. Underrated saying that Wade Barrett as commentator, I can agree with that. I think Wade has really come into his own. I think he's really found his voice from NXT until now being on SmackDown. He's a really solid commentator, and they're giving him more and more to work with. So I do really like Wade Barrett. Sean says, I think no selling that wrestlers do is overrated. One that comes to mind is Penta and Orange Cassidy. I am not a fan of the no selling either. This is a problem to me in modern wrestling as the old timer. I don't like it. And the reason why is because there's no selling, so there's no importance or impact of the moves. And this is more the case with AEW, unfortunately, that there's no selling of moves. WWE does this all the time with like sweet chin music or the super kick. And then AEW does super kicks like it's nobody's business. Jimmy and Jay had a WrestleMania match that was basically a super kick match. And it was boring and it flopped. It did not do well. And I think that that's kind of the problem here is that nowadays you want to build to like a false finish. That's great. Those false finishes are amazing. Think of like Undertaker, Shawn, Triple H, Hell in a Cell. End of an era match. The sweet chin music into the pedigree, 1-2, Taker kicks out, was mind-blowing when you watched it. And then Shawn's reaction, all of that. If you had, I don't know, that match or that moment in AEW, it would be like 2 kicks, super kicks, a pedigree, and then 450, and they kick out. And you're like, okay, and then they would get up and do like 4 more super kicks, and it wouldn't do anything. So my problem with wrestling, it's not saying like AEW or WWE. Everyone's doing it because it's like we want to build more and more hype and false finishes. But the problem is then sometimes the match just kind of ends. So the no selling, it creates this loop of a problem to me where, yeah, the guys are just in there taking all the moves, or they're taking big moves in the first 10 seconds or first minute of a match. So when they kick out, you feel like you're just kind of waiting until you get to the very end. And then sometimes they just do like a roll up and you're like, well, what was that about? But like, I miss the days when a pile driver would end a match. And I mean, you can go all the way back. Like Jake the Snake Roberts DDT is a finisher, and it was one of the most dangerous moves in wrestling and in WWF. And then it is a sequence move now where someone just takes a DDT. Someone takes an apron DDT, and it's like early in the match and nothing happens. My problem is with like just the overabundance of no selling, where a guy gets up and just powers up in WWE or AEW, and they go through and they take like a pile driver, a power bomb, a super kick, all in the matter of a minute, and then they kip up, and then they keep going and they fight for another 10 minutes like nothing happened. So and they Hulk up, brother. So yes, the no selling in general, I don't like. Red Angry Birdie says, for the world champion, the learning tree, Chris Jericho, is underrated. I like TV time. Oh no. No, my friend. I don't believe it's underrated at all. Sorry. I've liked Chris Jericho in AEW. Chris Jericho for me right now has this feeling of, I need you to go away for 6 months so that you can come back and do something cool. The learning tree stuff, there's the odd moment where it's a little enjoyable, it's a little comedic, but I personally do not like where they're going with this. Like it just doesn't work for me. It's some weeks, like the last week or two of Dynamite, they've cut back the amount of segments Jericho was doing with this learning tree. But there was the week or two where it was every other segment backstage was Jericho doing this learning tree stuff. No, I disagree, sir. I think it's very overrated. It's not underrated, that's for damn sure for me. MJ Washington says, hope I'm not too late. Never too late, my man. Finn Balor is underrated. Yes, he got injured after winning the Intercontinental Championship, but he really should have another shot as a world champion. He also right now loses too much and is a joke character. Oh, okay, I'm gonna go with that. You got overrated for Miz and R-Truth. Yeah, it's a little overrated. The Miz and R-Truth is a little done to me. Like we've done it. They need to revamp the tag divisions already and like get tag teams working again. Miz and R-Truth are just the comedy act, and it's fun. They got like R-Truth is just endlessly entertaining, but yeah, I think it's run its course now. For Finn Balor being underrated, kind of. In current world, yes, because he's such a good wrestler. Isn't he like 40 something right now? and he's in impeccable shape. The man can do, like, he just doesn't age, and he's really entertaining. He's entertaining with Judgment Day stuff. He's found this really cool new character. Like, if we rewind and you look at Finn Balor when he was like going Intercontinental title and all of that, Vince just has him smiling babyface Finn Balor, and it was like, that's not fun. And when he went back to NXT for like the second run, that was kind of cool. And then he came back and he's in Judgment Day. And at first with Judgment Day, it was like, it's okay. Now I find it very fascinating because all the heat that's going on and the sexual tension with Liv and Finn, Dom, and everybody, and they just can't handle it. Finn is very good, but I do agree, I really want to have Finn get a proper like second run, basically a second win or third win of getting world championship, something like that, so you can elevate him once again. I personally think one of my predictions for Money in the Bank is somehow, some way, Finn is making it into Money in the Bank and he wins because it creates a really interesting story. Finn with the world title would look cool. I think you would have a lot of different opponents that he could work with, from Damian Priest and Judgment Day and beyond all that. Seth he can do again, like, and you get this newer version of Balor. So, and maybe with a new Judgment Day behind Balor. There's a lot you could do with Finn Balor. I think he is a little bit underrated in that regard. Okay, WWE 2K24_0 says, I think that Jade Cargill is being rushed up the card and it's too much too soon. WWE need to take more time with her. So you think that it's overrated? It's tricky with Jade because they got this giant investment in her and they got to use her, right? And I think tagging her with Bianca has worked. It's done a lot, but it's all, we as fans, and I think we as like hardcore fans, we see what's happening. They're protecting Jade because she's in nothing but tag team matches. It's like AEW with nothing but squash matches where it was 3 minutes long and that was it. She didn't have to do a lot. And in some cases with WWE right now in these tag matches, you can see like, okay, she's getting a little bit more room to do a little bit bigger, more sequences. You saw a Clash at the Castle where stuff happens. Like the slip of the rope, people immediately are like, oh my God, she should go back to developmental and like she should never be on TV again. That is, people mess up spots like daily. So it's just, I think it's because people look at something like that, like a Clash where she tried to do a springboard over the ropes and she missed it. And then there was a little bit of clunkiness in the ring in terms of like, okay, where is she going? And she like tapped out to a submission when she shouldn't have. I get it, but like they're going to use her no matter what. But I think like my point is like, I think wrestling fans look so closely at this stuff that we look for that negative and be like, aha, I gotcha. Like you can't do it. So thus you should be not on TV and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, let her have fun. This is fine. Jade's fine. She's got great character. They treat her like a superhero. And I think it's a matter of time. They got to get her more comfortable. The only way to do it, and it's tricky because it's like, you don't want her in NXT because they want to show her off. They want to showcase her as a big, big star. They got to use her, even if she is limited. So the best way is to learn from somebody who can wrestle like Bianca and try to get her going a little bit until they eventually have a match together one-on-one. I wonder how long it's going to take with Jade though. I can see why fans would say like, hey, she's overrated because it's all entrance and power moves and all that. Well, that's Goldberg and every other big man that came in and just dominates, right? That's what WWE does. That's what a lot of wrestling does. But it's all left for just the presentation. So, and I think that maybe that rubs people the wrong way where they think she's overrated. But what's overrated, underrated for you? So if you guys want to talk more WWE and AEW, then click this video. This video is going through what do we want to plug, Matt? Let's do Jacob Fatu. This one's going to be Jacob Fatu on SmackDown, the debut. Go in through all of it, all the details, everything you need to know. Guys, have a great day, and thank you, by the way, if you made it this far. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. We just passed 5,000 subscribers. I absolutely love it. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.